tonight. I'm here with Kevrick McCain, who is the Executive Vice President of the Douglas Leadership Institute. And Mr. McCain, could you let us know, what this leadership represents in your political views on abortion?
Well, first off, Tiffany, I just want to say I'm really thankful to be in the great city of Philadelphia and to be talking to you and to talking to your viewers. But the Douglas Leadership Institute, we're a grassroots organization. We're a nonprofit organization. We work with churches and faith-based groups and community groups across the country, specifically looking at strengthening the African American family, criminal justice reform, and economic opportunities, along with doing what we would call education programs where we deal with in terms of how to help folks who are in our public schools, getting our churches to partner with public schools or private schools so that we can provide some values for students, for this next generation of students. But one of the issues that we're most excited about is the issue of abortion. It is an issue that is really starting to affect the African American community. Here in a state where 12% of the population is Black, 44% of all the abortions in the state take place or performed on Black women. And we think that that really is causing just a disproportionate burden on our families and really on our on women today who are being targeted by Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers.
Okay.
That doesn't need to be the case. We're not a community that wants to end the lives of our children. We're a community that wants to empower and see those young people actually grow and develop into something great on what God has called them to be.
Right.
And so that's what our focus is going to be. We'll be doing programs throughout the year in Pennsylvania. And so I would encourage everybody just to go to dlinstitute.org.
Okay.
Sign up, become one of our Jeremiah 1-5 partners, but also let us know what you're interested in. We would love to partner with communities, with churches, with individuals, and to see how we can make a difference in the city of Philadelphia.
Great. Now, being as though there is a lot of poverty in the city of Philadelphia, now some women turn to abortion because, they can't afford another child or to even have a child to begin with. What do you think some of the options? Do you guys have any options for them?
We do, and so I can honestly say, in terms of when folks say, "Hey, we don't have a way in terms of to keep our children," or we just feel like we're economically vulnerable. There are so many resources that are out there that people just don't know about. One of the things is through our pregnancy resource centers. There's groups throughout the country such as Human Coalition. I'm actually a board member at Human Coalition Action. And so there are groups that will work with women who are vulnerable women, who are in times of need, really need some assistance. We will partner with you to find those facilities. You let us know, and we'll work with you on that. The other thing is we're very strong on promoting entrepreneurship and work and networking through our churches, through businesses that we have to help in that process. Sometimes that's not the quickest and the easiest way to do that, but it is the best way to do that so that we can see that people have jobs that are performed, they can get jobs, and they can actually start to provide for their families.
Okay.
But I think that's a valid point when you say, hey, there are a lot of women that feel like they're in really desperate situations, but there are other alternatives to an abortion. Pregnancy resource centers, like I said, like what Human Coalition is doing, will connect you with people that can help you. Adoption. Church of God in Christ is coming up with a great adoption program that they're working with other churches and other organizations across the country, saying if you really need help with your child, we'll help you in terms of the adoption side. And then lastly, as I say this, we're going to challenge people and churches to stand up. It is important that dads say, hey, if I have a child, I'm gonna help that child. I won't turn my back on that. And there's something great that actually happens when we see men do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mr. McCain. I do look forward in doing a full interview with you in the future. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you. So I'm here with Bishop Dean Nelson, who is the chairman of the Douglas Leadership Institute. Mr. Nelson, could you let us know why are the Black communities so invested in getting these abortions? Like, why do we turn to that as a resort, as an option? Why are we left with no options?
Yeah, no, thank you. And I appreciate you bravely asking a question that too many in our community don't want to ask. Mm-hmm. And the sad reality is that out of the almost 1 million abortions that happen in America every year, about 33 to 35% of those abortions are performed on African American women. The part of that is so sad is because in my grandmother's generation, a Black woman was the least likely of any demographic group to get an abortion. But something happened along the way, particularly when Roe versus Wade was overturned. It gave kind of the legality for communities and really institutions like Planned Parenthood to come into the Black community to set up shop, to push abortions. Long before that, Margaret Sanger, who was the founder of Planned Parenthood, started in her community in New York City with these birth control clinics that they put, and they proliferated these clinics all throughout Black communities. And she had written in a letter in 1939 that said to the founder of Procter & Gamble, Fortune, Clarence Gamble, that we don't want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And so that's part of the history of eugenics behind why there's so many abortion clinics in Black communities. In fact, if you look today, roughly 80% of surgical Planned Parenthood abortion clinics can be found within walking distance of Black and Latino neighborhoods, and that can be found at a site called Protecting Black Life. But I am here to talk about some of the alternatives because over the last decade and a half, I've dedicated my life to not just kind of protesting, but really trying to go into our communities to help women who face unplanned pregnancies. And so in cities like Philadelphia, in places like Atlanta, Georgia, Gary, Indiana, Charlotte, North Carolina, Kansas City, Missouri, we have helped to start what we call pregnancy resource centers that are run largely by African American women that provide alternatives to women who are facing unplanned pregnancies. Here in the great city of Philadelphia, my dearly departed friend, Pastor Herb Lusk, set up one that's on Broad Street. And the goal really is to provide help and healing to women, resources that they might need, material assistance, helping them to maybe get jobs, because 76% of women that we have surveyed say that these are women that are seeking abortions, say that they would choose to parent if their circumstances were different. So as a minister, my job is how can I come alongside and help these women with these difficult circumstances, some of them being pressured by their parents, some of them being pressured by boyfriends, or even sometimes by husbands to get an abortion. When life is precious, the Bible talks about life being, protected at all stages. And we have something that we call the Jeremiah 1:5 project. If you remember that story in the Bible in Jeremiah, where he says that, God had ordained me to be a prophet to the nations in his mother's womb. And so we are about protecting life. And we've done some great things by partnering with the Church of God in Christ, which is one of the largest Black denominations in the country, that has a strong sanctity of life understanding, because all life is precious, preborn and born. And we try whatever we can do to help women and fathers who find themselves in these difficult situations.
Now, you mentioned race. So as far as the abortion clinics being in the Black communities, you definitely think that race plays a factor to try to weed out the Black race?
There's no mistake that was part of its founding. Some people might argue, well, you don't know that today. Well, we know you can't escape the reality of its founding. Margaret Sanger and what she stated, other eugenicists who came alongside. Margaret Sanger, during her day, was even found speaking at Ku Klux Klan rallies. And so we know that as far as the history. The reality is that that's where they are. The reality is even though Black women are only 12% of the female population in our country, still we get 33% of all of the abortions. So there's something that's out of sync there. And we
Right.
believe that life is precious. We believe that that America would be better off with more young black children who are raised into adulthood. So
Right.
that's part of what we believe in, both from a scientific standpoint. Most people don't know 98% of biologists all say that life begins at conception. So it's not just a religious argument, but it's also a scientific fact that life begins at conception. And we believe that it's important for us to stand on the side of protecting innocent human life. You don't know what that child may become. It could be the next president of the United States, the next Supreme Court justice, but they have to have a chance to come into this world, not to be snuffed out. Think about it this way. Even in difficult situations like a rape, which is horrible, we feel like the people who rape someone else should be prosecuted at the highest extent of the law. But even in a state like Texas, where somebody might be found guilty of rape, probably gets maybe 20, 25 years. But think about it this way. The innocent child who's perfectly innocent doesn't get a trial, doesn't have an advocate, but is sentenced to death by abortion simply because he or she is unwanted. And we believe that that is wrong, and that our laws should protect innocent human life.
Great. Now, where can they support this movement?
So they can visit us at dlinstitute.org. That's dlinstitute.org, and they can learn more about our effort called the Jeremiah 1 and 5 Project, which already has over 1,000 pastors, mostly African American pastors and ministers, that have signed up to say that we want to pray for protection of innocent human life. We want to preach the gospel, which is the gospel of protecting human life and that all life is sacred, and then partner with somebody else to do good work within our communities to help save lives and empower women.